This research paper addresses the problem of cognitive biases in multi-criteria crowd assessments, which can lead to inaccurate aggregation results. To mitigate these biases, the authors proposed two specific model structures for Bayesian opinion aggregation models that consider inter-criteria relations. They first create evaluation datasets using crowdsourcing and investigate the effect of inter-criteria cognitive biases on crowdworker responses. Their experiments show that incorporating the proposed structures into the aggregation model is effective in reducing cognitive biases and obtaining more accurate aggregation results. This novel approach aims to enhance the reliability of crowdsourced data by accounting for the complex relationships between different criteria in decision-making processes. In the field of psychology, cognitive biases have been extensively studied as they significantly impact human decision-making processes. These systematic deviations from norms or rationality can influence all types of human responses, including quality assessments. Researchers in crowdsourcing have also explored various cognitive biases, such as the halo error, which occurs when dealing with multiple perspectives simultaneously. The present study focuses on inter-criteria cognitive biases in crowdsourced quality assessments. This type of bias can affect the evaluation of multiple attributes of a target object and scoring each criterion. Figure 1 illustrates two example cases of inter-criteria cognitive biases. One where the worker overestimates the other criteria due to a high rating for criterion B, and another where all criteria are rated lower than unbiased evaluations due to a negative global impression of the target. This research aims to bridge the gap between the vast variety of cognitive biases studied in psychology and crowdsourcing research. By understanding these biases, researchers can develop more accurate and reliable methods for quality assessments in crowdsourcing. The research investigates inter-criteria cognitive biases in multi-criteria assessments within crowdsourcing, focusing on how biases arise when workers evaluate multiple criteria simultaneously. It constructs two datasets, one for separate criteria evaluation and another for simultaneous evaluation, to analyze biased responses. The study proposes Bayesian aggregation models that extend the baseline model to mitigate these biases, demonstrating improved predictive performance in experiments. The contributions of this study are threefold: identifying biases, constructing datasets to demonstrate biases, and proposing models to mitigate these effects. In the realm of crowdsourcing human assessments, quality control is a primary concern. To improve reliability, researchers have employed statistical response aggregation methods, originating from David and Skeen's seminal study. These models consider factors such as task difficulty, worker similarity, and item similarity, as well as ordinal or numerical ratings. Recent studies have also focused on Bayesian generative models and Bayesian inference to address limited worker labels. Moreover, psychological and cognitive factors, like cognitive biases related to rating tasks, have been investigated. For instance, the halo error, where raters struggle to distinguish multiple dimensions of a task, has been explored. Inspired by these considerations, researchers in the crowdsourcing community have examined various types of biases that reduce dataset reliability, such as ambiguity, anchoring, bandwagon, and decoy effects. Efforts to mitigate these biases include strategic task design and interventions in the annotation process. Factors affecting worker biases, such as monetary incentives, have been studied, and game-theoretic bonus schemes have been proposed. Additionally, pre-screening tasks have been developed to identify competent workers based on the Dunning-Kruger effect. Overall, this page discusses the importance of understanding and addressing various factors influencing the quality of crowdsourced human assessments. The comparison of statistical generative models for aggregating crowdsourced annotations is a crucial aspect in understanding biases. This includes cognitive bias, worker bias, and item bias, which are particularly important in the proposed models such as IMP-CIM, CDM, and IMP-CDM. A key point is highlighted through a table that emphasizes the inclusion of cognitive bias in the proposed models. Researchers have developed a novel approach to creating evaluation targets for assessing text quality. To achieve this, two writing tasks were designed, one involving customer reviews about restaurants and another focused on personal profile statements. These tasks were published on the Lancers crowdsourcing marketplace, yielding an initial 50 reviews and 37 profiles. After reviewing and refining the datasets, the final collections consisted of 50 reviews and 36 profiles. The research then shifted to creating evaluation datasets based on crowd evaluation results, with a specific focus on inter-criteria cognitive biases in multi-criteria assessment. This involved examining both individual and simultaneous assessment settings to understand how simultaneous assessment affects worker responses. By analyzing these settings, the study aimed to identify potential biases in worker evaluations and develop more accurate evaluation targets for text quality assessment. The evaluation tasks, outlined in Tables 3 and 4, assess reviews and profiles based on 5 criteria: coherence, organization, writing style, and relevance. These criteria are derived from previous studies on text assessment. For reviews, the evaluation tasks involve rating a description according to each criterion, with 50 evaluations and 25,000 published tasks. To minimize cognitive biases, individual evaluations are allowed, rather than simultaneous ones, which could be susceptible to inter-criteria biases. Unlimited tasks are permitted per worker, with a reward of 2 cents per task. Similarly, the evaluation tasks for profiles consist of 36 evaluations and 18,000 published tasks, with the same unlimited task allowance and reward structure. This design enables a comprehensive assessment of reviews and profiles, reducing the influence of cognitive biases. The evaluation of text quality for a dataset of restaurant reviews and profile statements involves assessing criteria such as grammar and notation, readability, and overall quality on a 5-point Likert scale. The authors conducted individual and simultaneous evaluation tasks on Lancers, collecting responses from 549 workers for reviews and 589 workers for profile statements. To address potential biases, tasks were published on different days, and criteria were shuffled in simultaneous assessments. Despite some workers participating in multiple tasks, the analysis suggests that this overlap would not significantly affect the results. The section concludes with an analysis of response data to investigate inter-criteria cognitive biases affecting crowdworker ratings, including leniency error and halo error. Analysis of worker responses in the review and profile datasets reveals a propensity towards moderate ratings, with a notable preference for grades 3 and 4 in the simul assessment type. This suggests a potential halo effect, where the simultaneous evaluation of multiple criteria influences ratings. To further investigate inter-criteria cognitive biases, the study examined inter-criteria and inter-target mean and variance of ratings. The results show similar distributions for inter-target and inter-criteria means in both INDV and simul datasets, but with a significant difference in the variance of the inter-criteria mean, indicating higher variability in the simul dataset. This increased variability is attributed to raters' inability to effectively discriminate between multiple criteria, a phenomenon observed in previous literature. This section of the research paper presents a comparative analysis between 2 datasets, INDV and simul, derived from a multi-criteria assessment of text writing tasks. The authors applied statistical tests to identify potential halo errors in the ratings provided by workers. Table 5 shows the mean and standard deviation of worker responses for both datasets across intertarget and intercriteria conditions. The results indicate a significant difference in the distribution of means and variances between INDV and simul, suggesting that halo errors may be present in the ratings. The authors used the two-sided f-test to compare the distribution of means between the datasets and observed no significant difference for intertarget and intercriteria conditions in both the review and profile datasets. However, they found significant differences in the distribution of variances using the two-sided Welch's t-test and the non-parametric Brunner-Munzel test. These findings confirm the existence of a halo error, which reduces the ratings variance over criteria and intertarget variance in the response datasets. This is crucial for understanding how workers' assessments can be influenced by factors other than the actual performance on the task, leading to potential biases in the evaluation process. The authors of the research paper delve into the impact of intercriteria cognitive biases on multi-criteria quality evaluation when utilizing crowdsourcing and statistical analysis. Their findings reveal that evaluating multiple criteria simultaneously leads to either over- or underestimation with lower variance compared to independent evaluations. This raises the question of how to mitigate these biases in opinion aggregation models. To address this issue, the authors propose two structures for Bayesian opinion aggregation models designed to mitigate inter-criteria cognitive biases. They decompose the cognitive effect into two components: the mean and variance of worker responses. The first model structure corresponds to the mean component, while the second structure corresponds to the variance component. The problem setting is defined as a rating aggregation problem, where the goal is to estimate the quality of target items by modeling the generative process of worker ratings. The authors assume a collection of evaluation targets, multiple evaluation criteria, and workers assessing the quality of each target in terms of each criterion on a 5-point Likert scale. They introduce a basic aggregation model for multi-criteria assessment, which is a naive extension of the single criterion model. This criteria-independent model, CIM, serves as the base model for their proposed bias mitigation structures. The CIM is based on generative aggregation models, which assume that observed labels depend on the combination of true labels, worker biases, and item biases. The CIM models categorical labels using the probability of being given correct annotations and assumes that observed ordinal labels are generated depending on latent scores. The latent scores depend on the discrepancy between the worker's perceived quality and the true quality, which can be defined by summing the worker's bias and the item's bias. The paper presents the criteria-independent model, CIM, a statistical approach to aggregate ordinal ratings from crowdworkers. This model considers worker bias, item bias, and their interactions, employing a normal distribution for simplicity. It does not account for intercriteria effects, focusing on worker and item biases separately. The CIM's generative process is illustrated in Figure 4, which demonstrates how it generates graded responses based on worker and item bias parameters. The impression criteria-dependent model, IMP-CDM, extends the criteria-independent model, CIM, by considering intercriteria cognitive biases in worker ratings. It introduces an impression parameter micro-ij, which depends on the potential quality of the target and the inherent bias of the worker. This parameter is generated by a normal distribution with the potential quality T and worker bias Bj. The IMP-CDM generates 5 graded responses as a normal distribution with mean micro-ij plus q, m, I plus c, m, and variance r, m, I plus w, m, j. The model is represented graphically in Figure 5, where the observation x, m, ij is indicated by a shaded circle. The variance of the responses is common among criteria in a task, reflecting how a worker assesses all criteria of a target. The IMP-CDM captures the cognitive biases in worker ratings, where workers evaluate each criterion based on a global impression of the target. The table on page 14 presents a comparative analysis of review evaluation datasets for various models, including CIM, CDM, and their improved versions, IMP-CIM and IMP-CDM. Each model's performance is assessed across 6 key criteria: potential, coherence, organization, writing style, readability, and overall. The results indicate that the IMP-CDM model consistently outperforms the others in most criteria, demonstrating its effectiveness in capturing the nuances of review evaluation. The model's performances vary based on the number of criteria considered, with IMP-CDM showing the highest overall performance across different numbers of criteria. This underscores the importance of considering both the impression parameter and common variance among criteria for accurate review evaluation. The IMP-CDM model's superior performance suggests that it is better equipped to handle complex review data and provide more accurate assessments. The results of the profile evaluation datasets are presented in Table 7, showcasing the mean correlation scores over 20 trials for various rating aggregation models. The potential column displays the results on the estimated T, while the other 5 columns correspond to the 5 evaluation criteria and the results on the estimated T plus Q, M, I, M equals 1, 2, 5, respectively. The models evaluated include CIM, CDM, IMP-CIM, and IMP-CDM, with varying numbers of inputs, n equals 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The correlation scores are presented in bold when the mean is higher than the other models. The IMP-CIM and IMP-CDM models generally outperform the CIM and CDM models, respectively, across most evaluation criteria. The experiment is designed to verify that the rating aggregation models using the proposed structures successfully mitigate inter-criteria cognitive biases. The evaluation metric used is the prediction accuracy of the potential quality of the criteria, which is measured by computing the mean of all responses obtained under the individual assessment condition. This is based on the observation by Snow et al. 2008. That averaging a sufficient number of non-expert annotations achieves comparable quality to expert annotation in several tasks. The true quality is defined as the mean of all responses, and the potential and criteria quality are estimated using simul responses. The results of this experiment demonstrate the effectiveness of the proposed rating aggregation models in mitigating intercriteria cognitive biases and improving the accuracy of profile evaluation. The proposed IMP-CDM model's performance in mitigating bias in crowdsourced assessments is evaluated using the Spearman's ranking correlation coefficient as the performance metric. This coefficient compares the estimated quality from the IMP-CDM model with the ground truth quality, assumed to be the average of 100 INDV worker responses for each target criterion pair. To infer the Bayesian aggregation models, maximum a posteriori estimation is employed with the Atom optimizer. Specific prior distributions are set for the parameters, including normal distributions for T, Q, M, I, Bj, and C, M, and gamma distributions for variance parameters R, M, I, W, M, J, Re, and Wj. The experimental setup explores the impact of dataset size on prediction performance, comparing results with different numbers of workers. To simulate real-world crowdsourcing scenarios, 5 to 10 workers are randomly sampled from those who evaluated all reviews or profiles in simultaneous assessments. Experiments are conducted using 2 datasets reviews and profiles with 6 different numbers of evaluators and 4 aggregation models: CIM, IMP-CIM, CDM, and IMP-CDM. Each experiment is repeated 20 times using different initial values to estimate the correlation. This evaluation framework provides a comprehensive assessment of the IMP-CDM model's performance in mitigating bias in crowdsourced assessments. The impression-based crowdsourcing data model, IMP-CDM, and its variants have been assessed for mitigating intercriteria cognitive biases. In potential quality estimation, IMP-CDM consistently outperforms the conventional crowdsourcing data model, CIM, across different settings. The introduction of the proposed mean structure, which considers workers' impressions of evaluation targets, significantly contributes to this improvement. Incorporating both the proposed mean and variance structures can lead to further performance enhancements. In criteria quality estimation, models with the proposed structures also outperform CIM. But employing both structures is not always the best choice. IMP-CDM shows the highest score in coherence, while the crowdsourcing data model with the proposed mean structure, IMP-CIM, performs well in organization, readability, and overall. This suggests that the proposed mean structure helps in modeling inference to be robust against intercriteria biases for estimating criteria quality. But the proposed variance structure has instability in performance and depends on the target criteria. The results based on the profiled datasets also show that IMP-CDM achieves better prediction performance than CIM in potential quality in most settings. However, in the criteria quality, the proposed structures show more unstable performance compared to the review datasets. While CDM, IMP-CIM, or IMP-CDM outperforms CIM in most cases, IMP-CDM frequently fails to reach the highest performance among the 4 aggregation models. In summary, the proposed aggregation models alleviate the intercriteria cognitive biases, particularly in estimating the potential quality. However, there is still room for improvement in the model design. Incorporating specific knowledge into the assessment generation process or introducing semantic relations between criteria could enhance prediction performance. The authors conducted an exploratory analysis on 2 response datasets, revealing the existence of intercriteria biases that affect worker ratings in terms of mean and variance. To mitigate these biases, they proposed two model structures to incorporate intercriteria relations into the naive aggregation model. The first model structure, the proposed mean structure, aimed to capture the mean effects of intercriteria biases, while the second structure, the proposed variance structure, targeted the variance effects. The authors estimated the true quality of the evaluation target using the naive aggregation model and its extensions with the two proposed model structures. Experimental results showed that the proposed model made more accurate predictions than the baseline model, especially in estimating potential quality. However, the proposed variance structure failed to contribute significantly to performance improvement in estimating criteria quality. The study's contributions include the analysis of intercriteria cognitive biases in multi-criteria assessment, the construction of real multi-criteria assessment datasets using crowdsourcing, and the proposition of bias mitigation model structures. However, the study has limitations, particularly in predicting criteria quality, which is attributed to the model's design ignoring relations among criteria. Future research directions include exploring task designs of multi-criteria assessments, expanding the Likert scale, and evaluating the effects of intercriteria biases in different objective forms. The authors acknowledge the support of the JST CREST grant. The impact of judgment scale and assessor bias on crowdsourced data quality is a crucial aspect discussed in the research. Task clarity is also emphasized as a vital factor, along with the need to account for task-dependent bias. Studies on rater bias in psychological research, worker self-assessments for competence-based preselection, and probabilistic models for crowdsourced ratings are highlighted for their insights into these themes. The importance of robust methods to ensure quality and reliability is a recurring theme throughout the discussion. The page presents a comprehensive review of various studies on the quality of rating data, Bayesian probabilistic matrix factorization, and the estimation of latent ability using a response pattern of graded scores. It discusses the challenges in evaluating non-expert annotations for natural language tasks and the importance of community-based Bayesian aggregation models for crowdsourcing. The text highlights the issue of constant error in psychological ratings and the use of neural models to generate textual summaries from knowledge-based triples. It also covers the multidimensional wisdom of crowds, optimal integration of labels from labelers of unknown expertise, and the need to Debias crowdsourced batches.